another two talks this afternoon. They are by our SCORE colleagues, and the first talk will be by Antoine Deux, a new look at mortality models with generalized linear models. Antoine, please, the floor is yours.
So, thank you. I will present during this talk part of my PhD work that I did with my supervisor Christophe Dutan and also with Julien here. And so, basically, just to remind you the problematics, you are used to work with the causes of death. And what I try to do in this work is to handle multivariate observations as multivariate random vectors. So either the count of death from d number of causes, or the probability of death for this cause. In the slide, I will denote it by y. And so in this work, I wanted to achieve two objectives. So develop a whole multivariate framework for the causes of death modeling, to work with these random vectors, and also to focus on obtaining the closed form formulas for the regression parameters, so that we can have faster computations in practice. So there are two parts in these talks. First, I will present the theoretical results that I obtained, so especially the closed form estimators for the parameters, which works for two distributions, so the multinomial and the Dirichlet distributions. And then I will present how I plan to apply it. So the second part is still ongoing work, but I will try to show you how I will try to apply my results. So first of all, quick reminder on how the multivariate GLM works. So we have to do a few assumptions here. First, an assumption on the distribution of the response variables, which belong to the exponential family. So you have the formula here, and they are characterized by three components. So the parameter theta, some sufficient statistic t, and cumulant function denoted by kappa. You have also some weights omega, and the rest of the parameters are not involved in the estimation. So then, to create the model, we make some structural assumptions. So to relate the expectations of the response variable to observed covariates, so denoted by the zi here, and some regression parameters beta. So through a link function g, which is sometimes denoted by its inverse h, as you can see from the slide. And finally, we need to make what is called the design assumptions, so which is related to which covariates we observe and how we treat them. And so the most important part in the work here is that we consider only single categorical variables. So all our observed variables are considered as indicators, which means that all the vectors describing the data are only zeros with 1, 1 somehow, so denoted the label that we use. So I hope it will be more clear with the example afterwards. And when we do this assumption, we can find a simplified score formula. So maybe it does not look simplified, but what you should read here is that we can express the score directly in terms of the regression parameters beta through the vector beta k. And so when we try to set the score to 0 to make the optimization, we can deduce directly the values for the beta. And in the formulas, so you observe either the kappa function or the mu h, which all depends on either the exponential family distribution or on the settings on the GLM, so things that we control. So actually, we are very happy with this formula. But if you don't believe me, I hope this will be clearer with the actual distribution.
The J, what is the J? Is the Jacobian?
Yes, sorry. And so when we work with the count data, so the multinomial distribution works quite well. So you have the returns of the characteristics of the distribution here, and just to show you that we can exhibit the closed form formulas for the beta parameters, and in the multinomial case, it's actually a special case of the maximum likelihood estimator. So this works quite well, and you'll see an application so in the example afterwards. And so another case that works is for continuous data with the Dirichlet distribution. I don't know if you are familiar with this one. It's an extension of the beta distribution, and it's generally used to model quantities between 0 and 1. So we can use it to model probability of death, for example. And in the literature, so we have two parameterization of this law, which are often called the common parameterization or the alternative one. So the expressions in themselves are not very interesting, but what we can notice here is that we have a phi parameter which appears here, and which is the link between both parameterization as the sum of the alpha j of the common parameterization, and the sum appears here. So the phi parameter is really pivotal for the Dirichlet distribution for both parameterizations. And so huge part of the work that we did is to find a way to estimate these phi parameters as the inverse of the covariance estimator. So yj and the log ratio of j over L. And so actually this is a whole class of estimators which work for all the dimensions of the distributions. And what we did also to improve the numerical performance is to consider something called the phi plus estimator, which is the average of all the previous estimator given here the health dimension. So once we can estimate these parameters, we can deduce all the other parameters of the common or alternative parameterization thanks to a simple mean estimator, some formulas here. And so hopefully it's the last slide with big formulas. So when we come back to the multivariate GLMs, so we can write it either in terms of alpha or mu g for both parameterization. And thanks to our estimators of phi, we can now have so closed form formulas for our regression parameters beta, so that I exhibit here. Yeah, it looks a bit complex, but when you use computers, it's quite easy to manipulate. So here we are quite happy to have those formulas, and just to convince you that the convergence works, I don't know if you see very well, but so here is for an example with the common parameterization in dimension 4. So on each graph, it's the estimation of each parameters for 1,000 simulations, so 1,000 estimations. And in black, you have the maximum likelihood estimator, which is supposed to be the best ones. And the dotted line below is our phi plus estimator, which is very close to the maximum likelihood. So we are quite happy with its properties. And another thing that we wanted to check is whether we actually can achieve faster computations. And so it's, here, when we increase the number of the size of the data set, sorry, and when we compare the computation times of the maximum likelihood estimator and our own estimator for phi, we notice that we are 5 to 10 times faster. So in this example, so this objective seems to be achieved here. And so this is all for the theoretical part. So now I will try to show you how I plan to apply it in practice. So the first use case is to reinterpret some classical models with these frameworks. So just to remind you the basic idea of the actuarial modeling, that we often start by assuming the Poisson distribution for the base count, which involves the exposition and the force of mortality. And then we make another assumption on the form of the force of mortality. So you have the famous Lee-Carter or H-period cohort that I reminded you. And afterwards, we need to perform numerical optimization, so to find the parameters. And I think that this approach has several limitations. Sorry, so it's often designed for a single population, and even when we try to do a multi-population or several countries or several causes of death, we still follow this procedure and try to put the correlation afterwards. So that's why I wanted to make multivariate assumptions at the beginning. And once again, we have a numerical optimization that can be quite intensive. So with our closed form formulas, we can fasten the computations. So in case of the H-period cohort model, as I just said, the classical formulation is some assumption, distributional assumption. And now with my framework, we can directly assume a multinomial, multivariate distribution, and still identify factors in age, time, and cohort. So I hope the writing is not too confusing, but here we have vectors which account for the causes of death. And so here I write it as a form of eta x of t.
So the alpha, x, kappa t, and sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
And the gamma are co-specific one?
Yes.
Okay. So
the vectors of size d, so that you have co-specific coefficient.
Okay.
It was a bit hard to write it.
Yeah, you should have put like the d also over the coefficients. Then it would be clear that they are specific for that cause.
Yeah, but then it's not completely consistent with the logit. The multivariate formulation. So
okay. Yeah. D is just the last cause. It's not like given cause. Okay.
So I find a better way to write it.
Okay.
And so to retrieve the previous framework, we can write it as eta of x and t, so that we can interpret it as a single categorical variables. And so we still these values of eta can be directly fitted with what I just showed, and we just need another step to identify the values of alpha, kappa, and gamma. And so that's what I'm trying to show here. that with the age period cohort model, we can interpret both age and time as two categorical variables. And actually, the cohort terms will be the interaction terms between age and year. And so we can rewrite it directly with as a GLM with two categorical variables, and so a set of parameters theta here, which will encompass all the alphas, kappas, and gammas. And actually, there is a result that was true for univariate distributions, and which is also true in multivariate. That so with these parameters, we can always write our eta in terms of matrix products of all the parameters theta, so all the alphas, kappas, and gammas. And so to ensure the identifiability, we work also with the contrast matrix, denoted by R. And so the important result here is that once we have the first estimators of the eta as a single categorical variable, we can deduce the estimators of theta, so with the alpha, kappa, and gamma, with these transformations. And if it's not completely clear, just to write a quick example here with two ages and 2 years. So we will have 4 modalities for our single categorical variable eta, which would correspond to the full parameters here, theta. So with 2 alphas, 2 kappas, and 4 gammas. So the direct link between the eta and theta are given by view. So you retrieve the first column of ones for the intercepts, and so 3 ones by row, which are ones for alpha, ones for kappa, and ones for gamma. And you have the additional constraints in the R matrix. So here, just one to set the intercept to 0. Some conditions, so the last row here to identify the cohort, because the cohort of age, people aged 50 in 2020 is the same as people aged 51 in 2021, and some identifiability constraints, so which are written here. These are not the only ones that we can use, but some that we can find in the literature. I think, yes. So, as I said, it's ongoing work. So the theoretical framework is ready, and I still need to perform the actual computation of the model to really show the interest. But, maybe in another future presentation. And so, the second use case of my work is when we want to perform more accurate mortality analysis, and the idea is to use for that GLM trees algorithm. So if you are not familiar with such algorithm, it's like an extension of the classification and regression tree, but instead of taking the average at each node, we fit a GLM instead. So graphically, the first step here would be to fit one GLM over the whole data set, and then with some statistical tests, we can, for example, split this in 2, and so have 2 GLMs here, and then either stop or continue the split to have really accurate results.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the order split counting the overall results?
I think not.
I don't think so, but maybe I don't know if you have checked.
But I haven't started yet, so yes, I mean, usually, yes, the first selective criteria is most relevant for the algorithm. But yeah, in terms of relevance, but in the end, you have your whole set of rules to say that.
Yeah.
You split the data, or you split the variable, and I wonder what you split them. It's my.
Yeah, you split the data according to the parameter of the model. If the parameters are different between the two samples, then you select you split. But they will have different details.
Yeah, because what is not really clear here is that we have fitting variables and partitioning variables.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
you use yeah. So the splitting variables for the nodes enables to split the data set, and I think the same variables are used to fit the GRs.
Okay.
Same or different.
And you're doing this to testing, and you're doing this hypothesis testing with respect to this partition variables.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to show an example from the literature, just to show you what results we hope to achieve. So here they had similar ideas, but only for univariate random variables, which is here COVID-19 mortality. So maybe you recognize similar equations, but if not, it's not important. And what they show is that after variable selection, there were two main drivers in Brazil to explain COVID mortality, which was the level of urbanization and the per capita income. And so with the parameters, we can identify this influence. And so they did it only for COVID-19 mortality. And so with the causes of death framework, we can hope to find this for similar results for, what we can see for every cause of death. Let's see.
Yeah, when you would analyze each cause separately.
Yeah. But the multivariate framework enables to account since the beginning for the correlation. You don't need the additional assumptions to correlate different causes.
And here it's COVID-19 is one of our cause, or is
it's one cause, yeah. It's just death from COVID.
just that?
Yeah.
Nothing else really.
Yeah. And so I hope it's we develop. So just to show you so the future work for this. Here it's a toy example because all the choices that are made are just to easy choice to make it understandable. So there are more work to come for this. And so I considered only 4 main causes. So neoplasm, cardiovascular, infectious, and all other. And I try to identify explanatory variables which are publicly available at Census Bureau. And all these data are at county level, so in the US. And so I retain 3 variables, so the median income household so in the county, the educational attainment, and the population estimates used as a weight in the multinomial distribution. So I need to make some transformation to make this a single categorical variable, so to work with modalities. So I divided the median income in three levels, so low income, medium income, and high income. And to handle the educational attainment, so I considered only the class of highly educated people, which we consider as bachelor above degrees, and split the data according to the percentage of these highly educated people in the country. And okay, just to show you so what we work with. So here are the results of the regression parameters beta obtained with the formulas that I showed earlier. So for 2 fits, for 2 years here, 2019 and 2021. So for the 4 main causes that I selected, and some of the categorical variables. So because only with these 3 with 3 variables, and I forgot to mention also that I consider the age. So we had at the total of 84 like profiles or labels, and so here I only show some depending on the income and the concentration of highly educated people, and here only for age 65 to 74. And so I had these results only yesterday, so the analysis is not really reliable yet. But just to give you an idea, we can directly compare the values of the beta between the years and the labels and causes of death, and they are negative here, and the higher the values, the higher the mortality. So
what is the 0, 15, 15, 20, 20? Income low?
Yes, it's a bit hard to. So it's that means that in the county there are between 0 and 15% of highly educated people.
It's income low and
That's education.
Yeah, because at this stage you have to encompass all the variables to make a single category variable. The parallel with the HPRCore model, the same level as the ETA here, and we could do the same work to disentangle the influence of the income percentage of education, as I showed for the alpha, kappa, and gamma.
Those are all significant.
Yeah. So this is not ready yet, but this will work the same way.
Some of them are pretty similar, no? Like if you look at Neoplans 2021.
I can try to zoom a bit. Maybe some comments that we could do is that it does not really seem to vary for low income, depending on the concentration of highly educated people. Or if you compare, for example, 2019 to 2021, you see a big increase in other causes, and I think it's because COVID-19 is accounted in this category, the way that I group the data. And so, as I said, it's a bit hard to. I just had the results yesterday, so take it with caution. But all the comments that we can make here, so that's how the GLM-Trees algorithm would look at the data and then help to partition and to really tell us where it's relevant to have specific values. And so for the next steps, with such GLMs, we can assess model performance and also try to select variables. And as I said, so I will use the GLM-Trees, hopefully have better accuracies in the analysis. And here are some ideas that so we could maybe achieve with such models. And, so the same way, as I said, as the example in the literature, the aim is to assess or to find what would change in the mortality pattern between before and after COVID. If people die from the same causes, or which group of people have the same or different patterns. And maybe with the H-bar score model, we can use the giant trees to make classification to compare countries or subpopulations, and maybe even do some trend detection around 2020. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Antoine. Comments, questions?
I start. Can you go back to the example you were showing? Back. Yes, this one. So yeah, so it's pretty nice how you incorporate the constraint with the contrast matrix. I'm wondering whether you have, and then basically what you have done, you have linearized the APC so that it could be run in a score with the scoring algorithm.
Yes.
Did I interpret well?
Actually, I realized that the formulation of the APC is linear, and so that it can fit into this framework.
Okay.
And so doing the transformation with the Q and contrast matrix, so we can use the previous results to really identify the coefficient of the model.
Okay. And my question is, now that I understood, whether you have tried, because that one of the advantage of doing that instead of the classic framework would be just to have directly the variance covariance matrix of the model, and for having a sort of analytic computation of the confidence interval. And I wonder what the effect of the contrast matrix in that uncertainty measurements. So have you tried to do the confidence interval of your thetas?
Not yet.
Okay, because I wonder what are the effect of the contrast matrix, or how much by changing the contrast matrix you have in terms of confidence interval. Because by putting constraint, you basically force uncertainty to be 0 in certain points. And that may have an effect in interpreting the final outcome. If you put one constraint or putting another constraint, which is typically an APC model. So, but that framework makes things pretty fast and easy to do. So that would be like an extension for you.
Yeah, I remember in the univariate case, so this article, they have formulas which encompass the contrast matrix. So I think for the multivariate case, it will resemble this. So yeah, I expect this will have an effect.
And when you talk about multivariate, it means that you have one Q for each country or each cause of death, or these are plot diagonal, or possibly, because you have different alphas and different beta and gammas for
I still need
each
to
cause.
write it properly, but it should be plot diagonal.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions? Maybe our online audience? Oh, Matthias, please.
Oh, hi. Thanks for a very nice presentation. I have a question about this tree algorithm that you were using. Is it, yeah, precisely that one. So just so that I understand correctly, is it you look for the best split point in Z1 and Z2, or?
This is recursive. So at this stage, we look at all the variables, so Z1, Z2, and maybe other. And given our statistic test and criteria, we find that the algorithm finds here that the most relevant to start is Z1. And then at this node and this node, we perform the same computation and test. And so on the left, this is not relevant to split more, but on the right, this is relevant to split according to the second variable.
Yeah, so the covariates that you are considering are categorical, right? So
Generally,
Not,
not necessary. I think
not necessary. Okay.
it may be easier, but not necessary for the general use of the algorithm.
Okay. So when you talk about accuracy with your GLM trees, and is it just predictive accuracy, or is it that you actually want to say something about the levels of beta 1, beta 2, and beta 3? Do you want to have like a confidence intervals for those as well?
It's not decided yet. I mean, I need to work a bit more, but it can be both, I think. But I thought more in terms of performance criteria like mean squared error or something like this.
Yeah, because I'm looking into a similar problem like this, and then we kind of bump into problems of multiple testing, that the p-values become very weird. But that's yeah. But then, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
we can exchange later on that topic, Matthias, because it's something that we are very interested in.
But looking forward to seeing you in Stockholm, by the way. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, let us thank Antoine once again.